The Time Machine was a remake directed by H.G. Wells's own great-grandson. But its story is full of secrets fans rarely hear. Did you know the director had a breakdown and quit near the end, replaced by the man who'd make Pirates of the Caribbean? Or that a scene was reshot because the falling moon looked too much like 9/11? 16 facts starting with the lost sequence. 16. The scene they removed. Watch the sequence where the moon breaks apart and debris rains down on New York City. Here's why the film's release was pushed back. The movie was in post-production in late 2001, and a scene of catastrophic destruction raining down on Manhattan, chunks of the shattered moon falling on the city, hit far too close to the September 11th attacks that had just happened. The financiers were deeply worried the imagery of devastation falling on New York would traumatize audiences and evoke the tragedy. So the release was delayed and the sequence reworked. A science fiction disaster about the sky falling on New York collided with a real one, and the film had to quietly change to avoid the wound. 15. The director quit near the end, and Gore Verbinski secretly finished it. Watch the film's second half, The Future World, The Morlock Attacks, and know that a different director may have shot much of it. Simon Wells, the great-grandson of H.G. Wells himself, was helming his first live-action feature, and the pressure of an $80 million production broke him. Suffering what was described as extreme exhaustion, some accounts call it a nervous breakdown, Wells had to step away for the final 18 days of shooting. The studio brought in Gore Verbinski, then a rising director, to quietly finish the film. Wells returned for post-production. So, one of the most famous names in science fiction, a Wells directing his ancestor's story, couldn't make it to the finish line of his own movie, and the man who secretly bailed him out went on the very next year to direct Pirates of the Caribbean and become a blockbuster king. The credited director isn't the only one who shot this film. 14. The florist is Philby from the 1960 movie, wearing his own original shirt. Watch the flower shop scene early on. And look at the florist. That's Alan Young, the actor who played Philby, the time traveler's loyal friend in the beloved 1960 version of The Time Machine. It's a lovely passing of the torch cameo across 42 years. But here's the detail that makes it magical. When Young was picking out his costume for the 2002 film, he found the exact same period shirt he'd worn in the 1960 movie, with his own name still written on the collar from 4 decades earlier. The same actor in the same shirt in 2 versions of the same story, a lifetime apart. You're watching a genuine piece of film history quietly reunite with itself. 13. Guy Pearce was so consistent they could swap his takes frame by frame. Watch any of Guy Pearce's dialogue scenes, and you're seeing an almost machine-like precision most actors can't achieve. Pearce was so remarkably consistent from take to take, identical timing, identical movement, identical delivery, that the editors discovered they could take the audio from one take and lay it over the video from a completely different take, and the two would sync perfectly, lips and all. That's an astonishing level of control. Most performances vary just enough that you can't mix and match. Pearce essentially performed the same take repeatedly with such exactness that his footage became interchangeable, a hidden testament to the discipline behind a performance that looks effortless. 12. Guy Pearce broke a rib doing his own stunts and wanted to do more. Watch the fight scenes where Alexander tackles the Morlocks and know that's really Guy Pearce getting hurt. Pearce did most of his own stunts, and during one sequence, tackling a Morlock from the side, he broke a rib. Here's the part that tells you who he is. Rather than being scared off, Pearce got frustrated when the production wouldn't let him do even more of his own stunts. The injured actor's main complaint wasn't the pain. It was being held back from the danger. That committed physical energy is a big part of why his transformation from awkward, bookish inventor to man of action holds together on screen. 11. Look for H.G. Wells's actual photo hidden in the inventor's house. Watch the scenes inside Alexander's cluttered New York home and keep your eyes on the walls. In several shots, a photograph of H.G. Wells, the real author of the original novel, is visible, hanging in the house. It's a quiet, affectionate Easter egg, made all the more meaningful because the film's director, Simon Wells, is the author's great-grandson. So the real Wells watches over the fictional inventor's laboratory, planted there by his own descendant. It's the kind of blink-and-miss-it tribute that rewards fans who know the family connection. The great-grandfather literally present, in portrait, inside the great-grandson's movie. 10. The whole plot hinges on a paradox the movie states out loud. Watch the gut-punch early sequence. Alexander builds the machine to save his murdered fiancée, Emma. He travels back, prevents her mugging, and then watches her die anyway, moments later, killed by a runaway carriage instead. Here's the film's genuinely clever core. He realizes he can never save her. If he ever succeeded in saving Emma, he'd have no reason to build the time machine. So the machine couldn't exist to save her. Her death is the very thing that creates the machine. It's a self-consistent time loop, and the film is smart enough to make that paradox its emotional engine. Alexander travels 800,000 years into the future, essentially to find the answer to, why can't I change the past? The whole movie is one man refusing to accept a paradox, until the future forces him to. 9. The Eloy speak a real invented language, written by an Oscar-nominated screenwriter. Watch the future scenes with Mara and the Eloy, and listen to them speak their own tongue. That language was genuinely constructed for the film, and by no less than John Logan, the film's screenwriter, who would go on to be nominated for Academy Awards for Gladiator, The Aviator, and Hugo, and to write a James Bond film. The Eloy communicate through what the film calls stone language, a system tied to the carved placards of the 19th and 20th centuries, which is how a few of them, like Mara, still know fragments of English. So the babbling future speak isn't gibberish. It's a designed language built by one of the most respected screenwriters in modern Hollywood, moonlighting as a linguist. Quick stop in the fourth dimension. If this deep dive is earning it, hit like and subscribe, because we go inside a movie like this every week. Now, back to the future. Starting with the villain buried under 4 hours of makeup. 8, Jeremy Irons is unrecognizable and was probably meant to be the hero's dark twin. Watch the Uber Morlock. That pale, spine-exposed, white-haired, telepathic ruler played by Jeremy Irons. You'd never know it was the elegant Oscar-winning actor under there. He's buried in ghostly prosthetics, a fleshy exposed spine, and a shock of white hair. But here's the reading many fans and critics share. The Uber Morlock was likely intended to be something far more haunting than another monster. Watch how he confronts Alexander specifically about Emma, about the impossibility of changing the past. He understands Alexander's grief too precisely. The strong suggestion is that he's meant to be a version of Alexander himself. The more evolved, colder, ends justify the means endpoint of the same intellect, the time traveler's own dark future. The film never quite commits to it on screen, but watch his scenes and the intended twin of the hero shadow is right there. 7. The Morlocks caused a real behind-the-scenes war. Watch the Morlocks. Those fast-leaping, animalistic hunters, and know they were the subject of a genuine production battle. The creatures were designed by the legendary Stan Winston Studio, the effects house behind the Terminator and Jurassic Park. But director Simon Wells and the producers wanted to change Winston's designs, pushing the Morlocks to look more humanoid and recognizable. The tension over how monstrous versus how human they should be was real. And the compromise created its own problem, which you can see on screen. The Morlocks move with CGI enhanced, superhuman speed, and impossible leaps, which many viewers found made them less convincing, not more. They'd have been scarier as men in suits than as digital super beings. The creature fight behind the camera is visible in the creatures on it. 6. The Morlocks are men in animatronic masks, with faces that really move. Watch the Morlocks' faces closely, and you'll notice something unusual for 2002. Their expressions actually move. Snarling, grimacing, reacting. Here's the reveal. Rather than being purely computer-generated, the Morlocks were primarily played by real actors in elaborate costumes wearing animatronic masks. Mechanical faces rigged to move and emote in real time on the actor's head. It's a blend of old-school practical creature work and digital enhancement. And it's why the Morlocks have a physical, present weight in their close-ups that pure CGI of the era often lacked. The most tactile, convincing moments of the creatures are the ones where a real performer is inside a machine-driven mask, acting for real. 5. The moon's destruction comes straight from a line in the original novel. Watch the film's boldest new idea: that the moon was accidentally destroyed by lunar colonists blasting it apart, and that's what wrecked a civilization. It sounds like a pure Hollywood invention grafted onto Wells's story. But look closer. It has real roots in the 1895 novel. Late in Wells's original book, the time traveler journeys far into the future and observes that all trace of the moon had vanished. Simon Wells took that eerie, throwaway line from his great-grandfather's text and built an entire apocalypse around it, imagining how the moon could vanish. So the film's most mocked plot device is actually one of its most faithful touches, a direct extrapolation of a single, haunting sentence the original author wrote over a century earlier. 4. Alexander corresponds with a young Einstein. Before Einstein was Einstein, watch the early scenes establishing Alexander as a brilliant Columbia professor, and listen for a name drop. He's exchanging letters with a young patent clerk named Albert Einstein. It's a clever bit of period texture, placing the fictional inventor in the real, intellectual world of turn-of-the-century physics. There's a fun wrinkle, though. The film has Alexander corresponding with Einstein as a patent clerk around 1899. But the real Einstein didn't actually start work at the Swiss Patent Office until 1902. So the movie quietly makes its hero a bit ahead of history, inventing time travel while trading ideas with an Einstein who technically wasn't a patent clerk yet. Fittingly, for a time travel film, even its timeline is a little unstuck. 3. The director was a Prince of Egypt animator. This was his live-action debut. Here's the context that reframes the whole troubled production. Before The Time Machine, Simon Wells was an acclaimed animation director. He'd worked on An American Tail, Balto, and co-directed DreamWorks' The Prince of Egypt. This lavish, effects-heavy, $80 million live-action epic was his first time directing real actors on a massive physical production. And by his own admission, he felt woefully unprepared for its scale, saying he was surrounded by brilliant people who saved me from making an absolute ass of myself. That gap, a gifted animator suddenly steering a huge live-action machine, is a big part of why the shoot overwhelmed him. Tellingly, after this experience, Wells returned to animation, later directing Mars Needs Moms. The Time Machine was his one live-action voyage, and it nearly broke him. 2. Vox, the holographic librarian, is the film's secret best character. And he's immortal. Watch Orlando Jones as Vox 114, the holographic library computer Alexander meets in 2030. Witty, unflappable, a repository of all human knowledge. Then watch what the film does with him. When Alexander reaches the ruined far future 800,000 years later, Vox is still there. The same hologram, damaged and lonely, but still running, having watched over the death of civilization across 8,000 centuries. It's the film's most quietly haunting idea. an artificial intelligence that outlives the entire human world it was built to serve, still dutifully answering questions in the ruins, the last librarian at the end of time. Orlando Jones, known mostly for comedy, gives the movie its most unexpectedly moving thread, a machine that remembers everything, long after there's anyone left to ask. 1. The remake that couldn't escape the shadow of its own grandfather. Step back, and the Time Machine's real story is a paradox worthy of its plot. Here was a film with every advantage. The original author's own great-grandson directing, an Oscar-caliber cast, Stan Winston creatures, an $80 million budget, and a screenplay by a future multiple Oscar nominee. And it still couldn't quite escape the gravity of the beloved 1960 version and the towering novel behind it. It made its money back and has its defenders, but it's remembered as the lesser Time Machine, its ideas outrunning its execution. And yet, there's something poignant in that. A Wells traveling back to his ancestor's masterpiece, trying to change it, and discovering, exactly like his own hero, that some things resist being remade. Alexander couldn't change the past. Neither, quite, could the great-grandson who filmed him trying. Those were 16 facts most fans have never heard about the Time Machine. Which one got you? The director who couldn't finish, or Philby's original shirt? Send your answer forward through time to the comments. If this earned it, hit like, subscribe, and send it to the friend who loves a good time travel story. Until next time, some things are just meant to be.